way, 3 guys go this way, and that's it. So I think that's enough wafting from us, and we actually want to get into this battle to see what the HyperX Showmatch can bring us. So over to the Laughter and Pansy for the match.
Thank you so much, Dorjan, Wilkie, and obviously Vedso for breaking down a lot of the details that isn't so simple to most tankers these days, especially in an esports setting. This is something very new that these guys will be trying out in this sort of environment and setting. And I can't wait to see it. I've got to say it. I love attack and defense games. Every game prior to now, I've always been of that format. And I can't wait to see how this goes down. Your thoughts coming into this one? What tanks are we seeing in your opinion, at least?
Well, I think we'll see more of the tier 7 variety with the tier 6. I think it's more of a stronger setup than you would expect normally. Of course, this is your 9.4 common test server team battle format, as you're seeing on there. So very interesting stuff coming out from both teams. We've got IIS AMX 3090, IIS3, AMX 5100. That's for Virtus Pro. And from the side, well, not from Virtus Pro, even from from Europe, if I can get it right. And from the North American show team, we've got 5 Ausfays, 6 Ausfays, and 1 British FV3 something. Artillery tier 6, so interesting stuff from both.
Curious choices. So once again, just to make it clear, guys, on the attacking side, on this map, it will be the NA region. They are the guys, I believe, in... confusing. We'll see how this goes. But as you said, interesting choices all around.
Yeah, attacking is going to be, of course, North American, and defending is going to be Europe. Already a big charge coming out for the North Americans up towards the first cap.
Yeah, they're not messing around. It's an all-in play towards cap number 1. There's no split. There's nothing other than what we see right now. The fire going back and forth. This strategy might just pay off. Look at the time on the cap. It's constantly being reset, but they're getting close if they get some return fire. If they make this cover, look at the formation. They're going to try and cover up as much as possible. That 1390's on the split. The fire's coming forward. Bishop picks up a kill. Breakneck as well. They're going back and forward. You can see they're happy to sacrifice tanks to create this formation to try and get the cap out.
But the problem is 120 seconds, the cap has been increased on this format, so it's not so easy. Just Cause comes from behind. Look how much damage he can do.
This is unbelievable play coming out from Just Cause there. Look, get right around the backside. There's no running, there's no hiding, there's the kill. Just Cause picking it up. And this looks like the NA side has been dismantled one by one, systematically dropping down. And it's like shooting fish in a barrel right now. There is nothing the NA side can do. They have been wiped clean. And EU picks up the first half of the first map.
That kind of reminds me of one of my first World of Tanks esports experiences when we picked 5 Tiger 2s on Prokhorovka and 2 tier 1s, parked the 2 tier 1s, and those 5 Tiger 2s in front. But we were better back then, so we actually won that match.
Oh, wow.
Saying.
Wow,
no,
the flame.
No
the
shots,
flame
no
is
shots
real.
fired. But
wow.
that was...
hopefully they can't hear you over there, otherwise...
I'm hoping not. They got sound cancelling headsets on.
Thank
It should
God
be
for
all
that,
good.
Right?
But that was a bold play. I think what they
had a plan.
They had a plan. That's sure. That's for sure. That's a certainty. But they just didn't take into account the fact that the cap takes longer now. It's 120 seconds as opposed to 100. So you can't really do those all-out caps. It's basically to stop teams from doing that. You need to be thinking about that second cap. The play with the tier 1s in not the tier 1s, the lower tier tanks, the tier 6s or the tier 7s in the cap, and then go for the other side with all the rest of your tanks. Start creating that diversions, split up the other team, and really just work them down. You don't really have to go for the caps. It's just starting it from that point onwards.
It's going to be an interesting point now. If you're still new to this, they will be switching sides. So as we saw then, the EU side was defending. They picked up the first half. Now on the second side, it's going to be the NA side defending. So if Europe can break it on the attacking half, they pretty much win this map flat out. So it'd be like a 2-0 straight away. Even though it's a half, it's still almost a whole win. So it counts as 1 point. Best of 5 format, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So 3 points or 3 halves, whichever way you want to look at it, will equate to a win. And it is your standard kind of attack and defense game. Your attacking side, it's got a time limit. They have to get the job done. There is no running, there is no hiding. You've got to get the job completed. And I've got to say, looking at the EU's lineup then, it was literally like watching a standard game of tanks almost. A little bit higher up, a couple more of them, you know what I mean? Like it was a little bit more beefed up, but they didn't exactly go for some brand new tanks. They went, we're good at this. Let's just destroy you with what we know.
Yeah, the only real new thing was the ISs, the tier 7 Russian heavy tanks. But I've got a good feeling about North American defense. We all remember the North Americans in the World Cup. They had a good defense there.
Again,
the shots are being fired.
Yeah, indeed. Like, I'm trying to be neutral down here. You're just going straight in.
They did well. They did better
than the UK.
Before we get carried away, yeah.
let's just
ignore
honest.
that one, okay?
All right, we'll carry on.
Let's carry on, okay? So let's run through the lineups real quick.
Yeah, give us an idea who we're watching, because we can obviously see the EU lineup there,
yeah.
but take us through the NA guys as well, because we may not be so used to them.
So A. Martin, I think he's the one who's going to be calling it from the Cunninghams. Commander J, so. G-Forcer, Conflict, Azrael from Bernal Empires, Militant from the Cunninghams, and of course last is Germ. That's for North America. For Europe, we've got Apwao, who was actually leading the vote for Europe, as you would expect. He had like 20% of the votes. Then it's Povel from Virtus Pro, Bishop from Virtus Pro, Breakneck from Virtus Pro, School Bus is Arclit, Just Cause, and finally Positive.
It's quite interesting. If I'm not mistaken, I believe not too long ago, Apwao had the option of possibly going over towards the dark side, the Virtus Pro side.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed with School Bus. Now, obviously, in the finals, that kind of worked out. But it's kind of interesting to finally see that kind of superstar team coming together and clearly showing they can do work. Obviously, this is not the environment they would normally play in, but it's a bit of a treat to see these guys mixing up, because normally they are arch rivals in a way. They're the team that always go head-to-head in the finals, that always have to overcome each other. So it's a difficult one to kind of fathom that they're playing together in this. The American team seem pretty chilled out with each other. They're all kind of around that marker. I may be mistaken. There may be some rivalry there. I know Fnatic used to have a couple of rivals, but these guys seem pretty chilled out. They're enjoying themselves. A little bit of interesting words coming up from the man on your screen earlier on, but I like seeing the EU side. It always kind of gives a little smile to my face seeing when arch rivals have to come together.
I wonder who's the team captain on
Do you got Arclit
I think
in
it's
there?
Arclit.
Yeah,
I think it's Arclit. But the thing is, like, School Bus don't really have a primary shot caller.
No.
Sanish likes to say a few words in the situation. Of course, we've got Zim, the team manager. Arclit is supposedly their shot caller, but in a team where I don't really see any shot callers. I mean, we have no Karitz in there.
Yeah.
We have no Kusok in there.
Yeah.
I think that'll be the weakness of this all-star team. The fact that really, unless a team does, like a really obvious in-your-face play like North America just did then, when you get to the more strategical plays, it'll be very hard for them to make that decisive decision. So that's going to be my most interesting point here. Just Cause, he's a really quiet guy, and I don't think he's going to be doing Positive. Again, very quiet. Breakneck, just an all-star player, not really someone who calls a strategy. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious. Obviously, now they can change their tank lineups from that first half. They don't have to stick with them going into their turn on attack or defense. I want to see if maybe NA switches up. They go for the more EU-style lineup, or maybe EU thinks, oh, we'll give that a try. Why not? For the fun of it. Because it is a show match at the end of the day. It's not, be-all and end-all. It's not the season finals. It's not the grand finals. But obviously, it's going to prove a point. I'm curious to see what they bring onto the battlefield now, as I think we're near on getting close to starting this up. And I'm kind of curious what the guys think at home, obviously, of how this is going down, what the major factors are in this one. Obviously, make sure you get those tweets through to us on Twitter, quite obviously with RITW as that hashtag. And let us know your thoughts on the matchup so far. How are you liking this as a game mode? Do you think it is viable? Do you like seeing these new tanks coming into play? I want to hear your thoughts. Let us know, obviously, and Melly will be able to kind of look through them while we wait for this game to go underway. Obviously, they're just chatting things through. They're a new kind of team coming together here. There's new mixes of players talking through the tanks. What do they want to play with? Do they fancy their chances with one over the other? And is there any tank choices you'd be surprised to see? Because you're an arty man yourself. We kind of discussed the fact that it's probably not viable on Ruinberg. It's not quite the map for it. But then let's say we've got Prokhorovka, if I'm not mistaken, coming up next. That could be an option. Maybe. I'm not saying it's a complete yes, but do you think that might actually come into play? Because, you'd love to see it, I can imagine. But is there any players here you think could take that?
Well, Arclit was an RTF player for the Red Rush Unity at one point, so he could do. It just depends if the teams want to be going for, like the 6 tier 8 tanks and that 1 tier 6 tank, because that's the real question, or they want to be taking the 5 tier 8 tanks and 2 tier 7s. It really does depend on that, because, you have like the Lorraine at tier 7 for artillery. But in my opinion, just don't pick artillery. There's better tanks out there now that can do more damage and more consistently than anything else we've seen before. So that's my honest opinion, and that's why I think we'll see, for instance, the RU-251s, the MX-1390s, and those kind of tanks.
Alrighty, so second half of the first map is now underway. On the attacking side on your screens right now is the EU side. They have to cap one of the 2 positions available, and obviously NA is going to try and stop them with every means necessary. So, looking at this, we've got a quite unique lineup coming out from the EU side. This is not what I expected coming into this one, and they look like they're going head on here.
A couple of tanks heading up towards the second cap for the EU team. North America also taking the Eastern Village quite aggressively. You can see that 251 straight away getting the spots out. Just Cause has got to get that turret returned very quickly. 292 damage. Now 250 is a good roll then, but he's on his own, unsupported.
And I love this. The RU-251, the tank that arguably could replace the 1390, now being tested a little here. Just Cause going into proof point, and this could be the first kill coming through. And there we have it. EU picks up the first and opens up a bit of a possibility towards that cap number 2. NA clearly aware of it though. They're moving in slowly, slightly heavier lineup it seems though.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, 6 tier 8s, 1 tier 6 is really the option North America have gone for. That's a problem because the T-37, it's a pretty good tank, but 680 HP is not a lot to play with. And with already 1 tier 8 tank down, it's a very big deal. Arclitt's in that defilade, capping already, putting the pressure on North America, and they have to go for the push. They have to go with the aggression.
And I like this. They have those 1390s as the more aggressive roaming team. And imagine that, Bishop, Apwow in these sort of tanks working together with Just Cause not too far away. That is a dangerous combination. And keep your eyes on that timer. Obviously, it's a long cap if we're going to see one, but the attacking side has to get the job done. 51-100 receives a little bit of damage there. Has to be a little bit careful. And obviously, they just want to reset. They don't want to, go full in towards this. They want to keep resetting that cap whenever possible. This isn't all in play pretty much from the EU side. They've not gone for a split at all. They are going just for cap number 2. And what do you think of that? Is there room maybe for a split here? Maybe send vast majority of tanks towards 2 and then maybe split 1 over to the other side, or is this the best option?
Well, it depends. I mean, you have the speed, you want to go for the furthest one away and have the slowest tanks in the one that's closest. If I was North America right now, I'd use those 2 IS-3s below. They got plenty of HP, plenty of armor. They can also go hull down and get the side shots onto Arclit and Breakneck. They might get pested a little bit by the M41, but in my opinion, do enough damage. And of course, the IS might not even have enough penetration to do it, but Pavel does in that AMX 5100. Takes a shot and deals one of his own. Has to retreat a little bit, but look at that. About 3 seconds left on the cap.
They've just stacked it. They just stacked it out, and I don't think they're going to be able to reset this in time. Surely not. I think they've got this one in the bag. And look at that, execution down to a T. EU side just knew what to do, and it's surprising considering the NA side weren't down. They weren't really tagged up that much. The damage wasn't dealt, and they just couldn't respond in time.
It was like a train wreck. Like you could see it happening. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it was just watching it in motion.
It really was incredible. I mean, I'm not sure why North America didn't push in. Those 2 IS-3s were in a perfect position just to go across. Okay, they take up a couple of shells from Pavel in that 5100, but who cares? They got plenty of HP. That's what the IS-3's for. And you get pested a little bit by Breakneck in the M41. Again, who cares? You've got to be aggressive. You've got to push forwards. And the 251 should have run away straight away because he was the one who could have been a perfect tank to actually decap that. So miscommunication or no communication from the Americans.
And it's ironic, isn't it? We questioned if EU would have that communication considering they don't have a generic leader, whereas NA has a couple they can pick from. Yet they didn't have that communication there to kind of lead them forward, and it seemed to hold them. No one was there to call, guys, we've got to reset this cap. We've got to do something. And they were constantly held back. They never committed, as you said. And, well, currently we have EU up now 2-0. That's one map pretty much theirs. They just need one more half, and they've won the game. Mm-hmm. That's done and dusted. And let's bear in mind, Prokhorovka being next, I worry for the NA side here. They're going to have to bring out something pretty impressive if they want to kind of throw EU off now.
Can't wait for Prokhorovka. It's one of my favorite assault maps. Yeah, we could see artillery. I'm really interested to see if we see like an M41 alongside like a Lorraine with the scout coming from the M41, the spots coming from the M41, and then the Lorraine just providing the firepower. The counter to that, of course, is going to be a lot of light tanks. The 251s, the AMX 1390s, the 416s, just to stop artillery from hitting those shells. If you take the T32s and the IS3s or even the T69s, then you can get blind fired in those bushes and you can get taken down real quick. So I think we'll see the faster tanks coming out on a Prokhorovka at least. I think a school bus, their best option would be 5 tier 8s, 2 tier 7s, because you got the M41s. Great tank on this map.
Virtus bus, right? Virtus bus, right?
Virtus bus. Let's call it Virtus bus. That's a good one. Yeah, I think they're going to take that because you can get the hull down and you got plenty of damage as well to pester, especially when you're playing against the MX 1390s because I don't have a lot of HP anyway, so 150 average damage is just about okay. So that's my thoughts. North America, I think they can bring it back because honestly, the Europeans are very good at city maps and the open maps, allow a little bit more creativity and a little bit more openings than any other one.
I do worry, however, let's bear in mind, NA starts on attack. So you could argue they're on the harder side if you go through World of Tanks logic to its kind of core in a way. When you're making that first move, obviously the other side does have a slight advantage to be able to get that first shot off on perfect accuracy to an extent. There's the one issue with that. But then there's always the counter argument of if you're making the move, you're controlling the pace, you're more warmed up, you're expecting the play, you're always making it. There's obviously counterpoints. But let's break it down into Prokhorovka, because I don't know this map all that well in assault mode. I don't know where these cap points are, what we can be looking at here. What sort of issues may the attacking side face now going forward? Is there a problem that they may have to overcome? Is there a side that's preferential? Where do they start? What are they going to look towards getting that initial start that they'd ideally want? Is there a beginning play that might set them up well later?
Well, the problem is Prokhorovka is quite a polarizing map. You have the right side, the city side, you have the left side, the green zone road. You have to kind of commit to either side because you've got such a big train track in the middle and it's so hard to cross that train track without taking a lot of damage. Like, you've got to make that decision. Do we go to cap number 2? Do we go to cap number 1? Cap number 2 is over towards the city, the village. Cap number 2 is over, cap number 1 is over towards the normal capping area, the green side. Also, that hill comes into the equation because, of course, if you get up the hill, you can reset cap number 2, you can't reset cap number 1, but it takes a long time to get up that hill. So all these kind of questions come into the equation. Of course, for the defending team, it's pretty simple. They can sit back on that green side, commit a couple of tanks over towards A9, the kind of, it's not an island, but it's got a river circling around it.
Yeah, more isolated area.
Exactly, and there's plenty of cover. You can defend, you can do whatever you want, you can even push out over there. Takes a little bit of time, but it's still okay. So I think the defending team has the advantage on Prokhorovka.
Well, it's going to be something to keep in mind going forward. I'm looking forward to this one between these two. And obviously the tank choices coming out are going to be massive here. I'd love to see something very unique. So far, I feel they're kind of keeping it, not necessarily standard, but they're keeping it within the boundaries of what we know. However, I'd love one of these teams to pull something out absolutely crazy. Let's bear in mind, NA now it's do or die for them. They've got to turn up right now. EU, however, they can let it slide a little. They could play around, they could try something out, they could try something new. But then again, how much is there to do on the defending side? Do they want to risk it on the better side for them? If they then go into the attacking side, they lose that one, then it spirals and they're all even, and then you're kind of screwed. Let's put it that way. You don't want to lose because it's a brand new game mode. This is something new. People don't 100% know it yet. And the one thing I'm really wanting to see, especially from the attacking side, is like a split play. So far, we've seen fairly all-in plays. I preferred EU's version of it, considering they had a wonderful roaming squad with the 1390s in position. They had the heavier tanks towards the cap on Nuremberg. I like that a lot more than the NA version of just kind of chucking everything in and trying to go for the full cap. But then I'd love to see a split. I don't know if I don't think it's all that viable on this map, looking at where it may spawn or where the actual cap points are. I'd really like to see maybe a little bit more progressive play, something a little bit more tactical. But then again, it is an all-star mix. It's not like it's a full-fledged team yet. So I guess they have to keep it basic to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, the coordination will come over time. You can see these teams are very cued into the way the game works at the moment, where there's one cap, one objective. You either go for it or you go for the kills. That's the end of the day. In my opinion, on Prokhorovka, like going for that second cap over towards the village area and then going for the kills is actually a better idea because once you get reset on number 2, there's no point continuing. Just going to number 1 is suicidal. So just get some early damage down and then push on through and actually get the win just based on frags as opposed to anything else. So I think we'll see that from these two teams on this map. NA obviously has to come back now 2-0 down. They don't lose a third map because they'll be out. So very interesting stuff. The last tank does get locked in there for EU. They've gone for the 2 tier 7s to 5 tier 8s, whilst North America have gone, they've gone for the same.
Well, near on mirrored lineups, as you mentioned, very close to each other. And it's quite funny, if it goes this way, the team who just had to kind of gel together in the last couple of moments to win this show match will then have to face off head-to-head not too far away from now. Something I am certainly looking forward to. Prokhorovka will possibly be our deciding map. This could be the final half if the EU region picks it up. They will, however, be starting on the defensive side. So it's all down to NA. They have to make the moves here. They have to make the plays. We have to see what they can bring out. The one thing I'm enjoying is the stars we're seeing a lot of that RU-251. This is what I wanted to see, especially on a map like this. We haven't seen a lot of Prokhorovka in action just yet, so this is what I'm looking forward to. Your predictions, who's got this one?
I think the North Americans have the best chance on this one.
Okay, well, let's see how this goes down. I think we are ready to get this one underway. Well, I'm looking forward to it. You're going to stick with NA. I think EU, just to get it locked down, get the job done, they want it 3 clear halves, back to back. So, takes us into the game so far. What are we going to be seeing at present?
So the attackers, Europe, look like they're heading towards base number 1 at the moment. You can see all the tanks filtering over towards the left side, the green road. The North Americans pushing very aggressive towards the middle. This could be disastrous to the Europeans.
Apoel's in trouble. Look how many tanks are around him. First shell connects, there's the second. Apoel gets hit twice in a row. The Pershing comes in from the backside from Arclit, laying down some pretty much suppressing fire, and the EU's not stopping. They're continuing forward. NA needs to find their reasoning, find a position to return some fire, because this is going straight away into the action.
Yeah, North America heading over across the defilade straight away. They've split the map in half at the moment, but EU have got the tree side. They've got the road, but Apoel does fall to North Americans.
He just got picked out straight away. His aggression got punished, and maybe this is the road in that the NA side needed. Take down one of the superstars and keep punishing. However, at the moment, it does look like EU are being surrounded on all fronts. Looking at Breakneck, he is down low at the back lines, trying to avoid some of this damage, and look at him, he's trying to run for cover. They're getting finally a little bit of return fire down. 4-5-2 damage dealt towards the opposition, but can they follow this up? They are still struggling here to get some damage dealt.
Yeah, but the coordination weaknesses are showing for the North Americans. They're not using the AMX 3090 thing, they're actually reloading, and the 251 is on such a low amount of HP, but still all 7 tanks alive. 1 does fall, Povel takes him down, and North Americans starting to lose a lot of HP as EU sticks in there.
Yeah, let's see, but Povel peers out, gets punished, big bit of damage, has to back away, but the bit of zealous there from the 3090, might get a little bit of damage from the back. He's about to go down, and look at this, back and forward between these two. NA are not giving up just yet. They are still in this fight. But can they finish the job? Can they pull this one out of the bag? Let's bear in mind, Breakneck is on a whisker of health. 1 more shell surely will do the job. Maybe, but the cover comes in from the side. He's not going to go down without a fight, and Bishop was there as well, and EU holds on again.
Arclit trying to stave off the 251, doesn't have the reload to take him down. You can see all 3 tanks are low HP. Soulwind does pick up that Pershing, beautiful shot.
And there's another tank ready for the take-in. That's another kill coming in for Soulwind. Arclit gets another, and this is near on over for the NA region. They just gifted the win over towards EU if they can get this final kill. But he's trying, he's fighting hard, but there we go. This is surely gonna be it. Arclit comes in as Breakneck to claim the final kill, and EU pick up the victory.
Beautiful stuff there from EU. Even down a tank, they managed to win. Apoel must be kicking himself a little bit. He couldn't pull a win through his team. But good stuff there from EU around. Despite the fact being down, they come back to win it beautifully. And that's the coordination from them. They made the moves. North America was stuck in one position. They didn't actually make a good coordinated decision. And that's why they couldn't push through towards the victory.
That was some unbelievable individual play as well. Let's bear in mind the cleanup squad, the player tagged as Soulwind, just absolutely destroyed them. There's not much you can do. They must be so frustrated after that as well, let's bear in mind, because they were on the verge of picking that one up. That's the first time we saw them really fighting in this, and they got so close. Yeah, the last hurdle to really just finish it off, get those kills down, stop going in 1 by 1, focus fire, all these basics that we hammer into the standardized format just seem to kind of vanish.
Still need to be a good tank player at the end of the day. You can have the greatest strategy in the world, but you need to hit those shots, you need to be coordinated, you need to spread the HP throughout your whole team. You can't just have a good strategy. And honestly, this is the theme for today. The North Americans, great strategy, great tacticians in their team, big brains in their team, but they still lack those basic World of Tanks skills that the Europeans have drilled in. They don't miss the shots. They know when to block. They know how to play tanks on a basic level, and that's why they'll always be better unless the North Americans can catch up, which I think they are doing. They're honestly a lot better than we've seen them before, but I think North America just have to, get some salt and try and actually win the next map.
Yeah, it's going to be a kind of interesting one coming up, but I've got to say now, the teams that have just had to kind of gel together, these NA and EU teams who've had to kind of forge these alliances very swiftly, now have to once again break apart and once again be enemies. The NA side's down in the lowers, the EU region in the uppers, facing up against each other. It's kind of insane to think that merely 1 or 2 maps ago they were having to be best friends, almost gelled together as that team. And the EU region certainly had a little bit of magic to the way they played then. And hopefully we don't see too many lineup changes just from this one show match. But you've got to say it, well played to both sides, and Arclit there looking happy already. And hopefully if School Bus have their way, they could maybe get another check just like that. But you know what? Don't hear it from me. Let's hear it from the stage. Clutch, take it away.
Thank you very much, Lauren and Ali. Well done to Team Virtus Bus, aka Team EU. They made it look easy. They're also going to take home some solid-state drives from HyperX, who presented that show match to you all. Also, America's going to be taking home some USB drives from HyperX. Gentlemen, very well done. What did you think of the format? Arclight, did you enjoy the format?
Sorry?
Did you enjoy the format?
Yeah, 752 is a great format because you get tons of action in a short periods of time. There is no draw here, so everybody has to attack, and you always get a result.
Results indeed. Congratulations once again to Team EU taking home $7,000 in that show match. We have 2 more matches left, ladies and gentlemen. We have the 3rd, 4th place match, which will be a clash between the 2 American teams, and then the finals of Virtus Pro versus School Bus. But for now, let's go ahead and head to